Sheryl, I have so many questions for you. I'm so glad you're here. This album is fascinating to me. As an artist who's has such a fine appreciation of music and the art and the craft of music, working with all of these other musicians from different genres, from different decades, it must have been such a treat for you.
It's, it's really even difficult for me to listen to the album. It's so emotional for me because so many of these artists are people I listened to when I was, all the way back to when I was 7, 8 years old, and I was dreaming about doing music as a, as a profession, and then, cut to how many years later, and to be able to ask them and have them say yes, and also a lot of these young artists that are also very inspiring to me that I feel like are going to be, the future of music. Yeah. It's all made this project just really incredibly gratifying.
The end result is gratifying and beautiful and such a gift. But is the putting it together part like herding kittens, trying to get all of these people together to row in the same direction?
It was a project that lasted actually over like 3.5 years. So we really only worked on it as the opportunity, as they arose, and we'd fly there, or we'd send something here, or I would write and I would think this would be such a great song for Willie Nelson, or actually wrote specifically for Willie, and this would be a great song for so-and-so, and I called Keith Richards and said, I want to record your song. So it was just kind of all, coming together organically and piecemeal.
Well, and I want to get in the weeds just a little bit and ask you a chicken or egg question. What comes first, the inspiration for the song or the inspiration of the person you want to work with?
Well, the whole thing started with recording with Chris Christopherson, and I've been a big fan of his for years, and I've known him for years, and he was such a profound inspiration for me as a songwriter. I worked with him and on his material, and then I called his wife and said, would he come and record for my project? And that was the beginning. It was just this feeling of wanting to create moments with people that I've loved for years and years, because we're all getting older and these things become more and more precious. So as I went along, I would think of people and think, oh gosh, I want to call Stevie Nicks, and I want to, I want to try to get Eric to play on something, and it all kind of came together simultaneously.
I think the story behind Redemption Day is so interesting. The fact that Johnny Cash recorded it before his passing, then you turned it into a duet after the fact.
Yes.
But more than that, the reason behind why that song came to pass is interesting. What do you want people to get out of listening to that song?
Well, I guess in a perfect world, when you write a song, you hope that they're going to be timeless, like a great Bob Dylan tune. That tune I wrote in 1997 after going to Bosnia, and then he recorded it very shortly before he passed. And then I called his family and said, look, I want to do a new rendition of it. And really, I wanted to do a version of us doing it together because of what's happening in the United States and with the way that truth is kind of under attack, and all those things that America was based on seem to be being challenged right now. And I guess what I want people to really tap into is the fact that this great American patriot is singing about what it's like to be born into freedom and how we can't take that for granted, and that all the decisions we make for the future, our children bear witness to, and we need to keep that in mind as we're making those decisions. And it's pretty sobering when you hear Johnny Cash singing about it.
But then you've got, Bonnie Raitt growing up to me was just pray at the altar of Bonnie Raitt. You performed runs. Did you have pinch me moments while you were putting these songs together? Because I know she's a favorite of yours.
All the way through. To get to perform that song with Mavis and Bonnie, we did it for a TV show in the States, and just so many of these moments. I can't, I'm still that kid from Missouri in my heart, who dreamed of being like, James Taylor, Bonnie Raitt, Stevie Nicks, and then to get to work with them and to be able to call them friend has just been, it's more than I could have ever imagined.
But that young kid from Missouri used to go to the record store and buy albums.
Yes.
And now I read that you said you're probably done with the format of the album.
Yes.
Do you believe it's a relic of the past? Why give up on the album?
Well, I think this is a great record to finish with as a full artistic statement. I think now, when I write a song and I have to wait for the album to be completed before it comes out, it almost seems like a waste of time, knowing that I can spend a lot of time and love and money creating a full artistic statement that people will cherry pick and put on playlists. And because I loved albums so much and just, I mean, they meant so much to me, I feel like this is a nice way to say, I love the process of making albums, but now it's time to move on.
So it's a little bittersweet then.
It's a little bittersweet for me, yes.
We were talking about the changing landscape of music, and you said that there are a few people on this album that you view as sort of the people who are going to be carrying the torch in the future. Who are some of those artists that you're watching today that you're saying, you know what, that's somebody you keep an eye and an ear on?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are people that are still influenced by that tradition of songwriting that I was influenced by, and I definitely think, obviously, Brandy Carlisle and Chris Stapleton. And
who has the best voice in music, I think, Chris Stapleton.
Oh, he's got a great voice.
I love his
and
voice.
Jason Isbell, who's an amazing, kind of underappreciated artist. Gary Clark Jr., who's just incredible. Maren Morris, who I think is kind of like a young Stevie Nicks,
Yeah.
you know, great songwriter, great performer. And we've got Andra Day, who I feel like is extremely unique. Lucas Nelson, Willie's son, who has his own thing going, and I think I haven't left anybody out. Oh, Margot Price, who's doing really well.
So if I sense sort of a bit of sadness that the album is falling by the wayside, but there's optimism in your voice when you list all these people working in the future. Are you optimistic for the music industry moving forward?
I am. You know, I mean, honestly. I have mixed feelings about it in that it's difficult for artists to make money now, and so it definitely weeds out the kind of artistry that I grew up loving, kind of the troubadour singer-songwriter. So much of it depends on social media, and so much of it now is about streaming, and with streaming, artists don't make that much money, in fact, very little money. But I guess if you know, there's no way to put the toothpaste back in the tube. I mean, technology is what it is. So, you know, you make the most of it, and I am optimistic. I mean, I'm always optimistic. Music is necessary. It's part of our fiber, and I think in a lot of ways, it records who we are historically.
Sheryl, I could say I can count on fingers on both my hands the artists who have impacted me deeply from a younger age. You're absolutely on those two hands.
Oh,
so it means so much to talk about this album that means so much to you, and thank you for coming into the studio.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for watching. If you like this, be sure to subscribe here, and you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.